Well, welcome to another Angling Direct Quick Bite, and in this video I'm going to talk you through my pike ledger setup. There's a couple of little tweaks that I think make it a little bit more improved to perhaps a ledger setup that you've seen before. But before I talk about the rig, let's quickly skim over the hardware I use when I'm ledgering for pike. So I've got a 12-foot, 3-pound test curve Advanta deadbait rod that's got a big pit reel on it. Now that's loaded with some 58-pound braid. I prefer a braided mainline. I think it's indestructible and it amplifies that bite indication. But if you do like a mono mainline, don't go any lower than 15 pound. To be honest, you're probably better off with a 20-pound braid constraint. The last thing we want to do when we're ledgering for pike is ever break the mainline. Now let's talk about the rig itself. It's a nice simple running rig. As you can see there, I've got a run ring going up and down on the braided mainline with a nice heavy lead. That's a 3.5 ounce lead. I wouldn't go any lighter. Believe it or not, with running rigs, the heavier the lead, the less resistance. You don't want the lead to move when the pike move off with the bait. And again, it's a nice flat pear lead that'll also help that lead sit nice and still. Then that slides down to this anti-tangle boom. Now this is the component in the rig which I think is quite important because it kicks the trace away from the lead. If you don't have that boom, there's a strong chance that your wire trace will wrap round the lead on the cast, and once that wire trace has done that, that'll damage the top of the trace. So the trace will get all kinked, that'll be time to put a new trace on. But using that anti-tangle boom kicks it away, so when you're casting it, you don't damage the trace. And your braided mainline goes through that boom and attaches to a nice strong quick change swivel. And I think it's important to have that quick change swivel because it makes changing traces really quick. I think whatever wire you use when you're pike fishing, if you start catching a few fish, they do get damaged, so you can just change traces really quickly. And the other advantage is I like to leave my rod set up and I don't really want treble hooks either in the garage or the back of my van when I'm driving to the lake. Talking of wire traces, I've got a trace here that I've made myself, and if you want to know exactly how to make your own bait traces, we have actually filmed a separate Quickbite video, and I'll put a link in the description showing you how to do that. Now I choose to fish this rig with a drop-off bite indicator. So we'll get a bait on this, we'll get it cast out, and I'll show you exactly how those drop-off indicators work. So I've cast the dead bait out, and the next little tip is to reduce that resistance anymore, point your bank sticks straight where you've cast the bait. So once I cast the bait out, I'll tighten everything up. I've just loosened the clutch here. Wind the spool until the braid is pointing straight at the bait and the rod is pointing at the bait as well. And you can just pull a little bit of braid off, get your drop off indicator. Now that sits directly underneath the reel. Clip the braid into that clip and then open the bail arm. Now you can just lift that up slightly. Tighten your drag back up if you want. Turn on the Delkim. Now you've got a complete resistance-free bite indication there. When the pike picks up the bait, because you're using a running rig with a big lead, even if that pike swims towards me, that will pull the line through the run ring and pull the braid off the rod, over the Delkim until the drop-off falls off, and that pike will move off with the bait feeling no resistance. Now I have seen people just fish off the bait runner with bobbins when they're ledgering for pike. In my experience, I found especially on pressured waters, if they feel any resistance, they'll quite often drop the bait. So on those highly pressured waters, try drop-off indicators with open bail arms, and I'm sure you'll get a better ratio of pickups to landed fish. So there you go, that's my simple guide to ledgering for pike. And don't forget, all the components and all the tackle that I've used in this video are available at Angling Direct, either online or in our store. So why not get out this winter, try and catch yourself some big pike and give the drop-off indicator and my ledger rig a try.